are listening to Voice of the Fans Sportscast, brought to you by none other than the voices of the fans.
Oh, Canada.
Live on YouTube as well as X, this is Voice of the Fans Canada for Monday, the 1st of June. I'm Randy Katarey. Thank you so much for joining us. If you are in fact doing so live, or if you are catching tonight's episode off of your favorite podcast catcher. On tonight's episode, a dear friend of the Toronto Maple Leafs is making his debut for the Stanley Cup Final. Well, I guess you could add to. Of course, I was first referring to Mitch Marner, but Frederik Andersen will be between the pipes for the Carolina Hurricanes. Lots to get into with regards to the NHL as well as the NBA Finals. For the first time since 1999, the New York Knicks will be back in the NBA Finals and once again facing the San Antonio Spurs. How dominant is Victor Wembanyama, and is it already his league to run? That and so much more. The Roundtable has assembled. Neel Katarey with an ode to what was once the home of the Buffalo Bills. I'm sure he's looking forward to the new Highmark Stadium coming up this coming season. And of course, everything going on currently in the world of sports. Neel, how are you?
Good to be back, Randy.
Great to have you back. And with his background as he is still recovering from the shocking loss of World Cup qualifying, from his heritage of Italy. First time back since that World Cup draw, I believe. Dan Leggieri, how you feeling, my man?
I'm okay, Randy. I think we've moved on from being dismayed or heartbroken by it to just acceptance, and I want to take this opportunity to publicly shame two members, one current, one former member, who now 3 times in a row remarkably will not be part of the biggest soccer stage in the world, sadly. So shame on them.
It's incredible. I mean, of course, Europe is in a class all of its own, but when you think of some of these countries who are competing for the first time, maybe it's a little unfair. Like you think of Cape Verde, you think of Haiti. I mean, the list goes on. And like you said, Italy is not there for the 3rd time in a row. How disappointing is that? I mean, like in the grand scheme of things, I mean, of course, Europe is what it is. I mean, did they just get too far ahead of themselves, Dano? Is the program suffering? Do you have any idea what, if you could summarize it all?
Yeah, I think it's kind of like what's happening with Hockey Canada. A little bit different, but maybe same sort of systematic failure. Maybe, hanging your hat on just being even a perceived powerhouse, or maybe a past powerhouse where things maybe came too easy and they stopped putting money into development, or just assumed that the pipeline would always be there. But the quality of players is just not there. It's strange that they're still 14th ranked in the world, I think, at last check, and they're not in the World Cup. So it's disappointing from that standpoint, because I know that they're a draw, not just for people like me, but for soccer fans across the world. So it is what it is, and you just hope that they should have already learned their lesson and changed their ways by now. But hopefully the 3rd time really kicks them in the ass and gets them moving in the right direction.
Yeah, I mean, a lot to learn. And with Euro is coming up in a couple of years.
Is any of this karma for the way that 2006 final ended with Zidane's headbutt and all of that?
I don't know if we deserve any of that negative karma. That was the Dan's doing all on his own.
I guess so. Yeah.
But was it Materazzi or Gattuso who pinched his nipple? It was Materazzi, right?
I don't know if he pinched it. I've heard a million different things, and it was said something about his sister or who.
Yeah, or mom or something like that. Yeah. Well.
Oh, really? Okay. Was that the case? But well, I guess we might as well get into the World Cup and your plans for it, guys. I went to the friendly, Canada Tunisia, and there was a 90-minute rain delay, and there was a number of Tunisian fans, but the majority, I would say, was Canadian. There was no goals, but it was still a great experience to be a part of. And now we're less than 2 weeks away. For yourselves, I mean, for a brief moment of this World Cup, eyes are going to be on Toronto, and a number of tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, maybe millions of visitors will be in our city for these games. Are you guys going to go to the city at all, soak up the atmosphere? I mean, I don't think the Olympics are going to be coming to Toronto, so this is probably the biggest international event that Toronto will see. Anybody?
For me, I don't have any plans to. I don't have any plans to go to any of the games, but that may change last minute. The way that the whole ticket scandal, I guess you could call it at this point, with FIFA is going. I mean, I am hearing a lot about people who are kind of dismayed and kind of at everything that's going on with these ticket prices. I'm hoping that maybe we'll see some game day drops in some of these prices, perhaps. And I'm not sure how these new Ticketmaster rules will affect all of the resale exactly either, because it's to the point you can't sell higher than face value. Now, that being said, is that part of the reason they're jacking up the prices? I really don't know, but it's going to be pretty crazy. It doesn't look like Toronto has the greatest slate of games. I think they get one quarterfinal, if I'm not mistaken, here, or one knockout stage game, and then three.
I think the one knockout game is going to be in Vancouver. Vancouver has 7, Toronto has 6.
Is that right? Okay.
Oh, sorry. No. Well, Vancouver has one more game than Toronto, so I can't remember if it's a knockout game.
I do think this at the World Cup in Toronto, it makes sense just for the fact that we have such a multicultural city. There's going to be different factions of fans and visitors and all that. It should be a cool experience. Hopefully just, everything is kept well, and the city doesn't, get pissed on too much.
Dano, how about you? I mean, you have I'm guessing he's around 8 or 9, your son?
He's 10 now.
He's 10 now. So
Yeah.
What about taking young Leggieri downtown, get him to soak up the sights there, and get him inspired to see some international soccer, albeit maybe just walking the streets or even catching the game in one of those viewing parties?
Yeah, no, for sure. It's like Neel said, there's nothing planned yet, but you can start to now. I don't know if you guys can, but the excitement is building, right? It felt like there was very little buzz leading up to, maybe even a little bit manufactured. A lot of talk about the BMO scaffolding and how there was no games in Edmonton and Davies being hurt. Like, there was a lot of sort of negative narratives around the buildup, especially from a Canadian standpoint. And as a guy of Italian heritage, as we already discussed, that was a big letdown, and it kind of takes the wind out of the sails before the tournament even starts. But my son plays rep soccer. He loves it. It's his life. We're missing a baseball game today, so he can go to soccer practice. Just shows you how much he loves it. If nothing else, I can't justify the ticket prices, and even the games that you would get. To my mind, probably the best game that Toronto has is like Germany, Cote d'Ivoire, maybe, or who it is Croatia plays.
I can't. I don't even know which game. I don't even know which games are in Toronto.
So we got a few, like Modric will come through, Germany will come through. Obviously we got Canada, but there's no real one marquee game. There's the one knockout round before everything kind of goes down south. But it's the Magic's going to be in the air. There's going to be a buzz in the city, and it'll be hard not to at least go check it out to sort of feel that energy downtown, because it's literally probably once in a lifetime opportunity where, by the time it comes back around, FIFA's got this 30-year cycle almost for the lesser countries like Canada, and even in the States, it's been 32 years since it came through to North America. So, we might not be old enough or even alive by the time it comes again. So why not? And we'll see. It all kicks off in just about 10 days now. On the 11th is this opening match in Mexico City. So, as we grow closer, and to Neel's point, if tickets dramatically drop off just because they're not selling the way they anticipated they were, who knows? Maybe you'll sort of dip in and go see a last-minute game. But otherwise, looking forward to it. It should be a good time.
It'll be a great time, absolutely. And, for me, before we went to air, I mentioned to you guys that I'll be going to Wrigley Field to catch a couple of Jays games. And it's during the round robin group stage matches of World Cup. And I already made a reservation at a soccer bar in Chicago to watch Canada, Katarey. I made it a couple of weeks ago. Apparently, it's one of the big bars where the Chicago Fire fans go to. It should be an absolute blast, and obviously really looking forward to World Cup. But how about you guys, like in terms of the rest of the summer? Do you guys have anything on your schedule there? I mean, the warm weather finally kicked in. I can't believe it's already the 1st of June. It didn't feel like we had any spring at all. But, now that the warm weather is here, I don't know about you two, but I always say, this summer I'm going to play more golf and I'm going to get more healthier. I'm going to get more active. I mean, do you guys have anything that you're hoping to accomplish or vacation-wise that you have going on? For
me, I've got my first house a couple months ago. So this is the first time I've had a backyard. So I'm planning to spend a lot of time out there kind of tuning it up, because it doesn't look that great right now, but hopefully by the end of the summer it will. Spend a lot of time outside playing with my dog, my daughter, and just kind of enjoying the summer. I think we're glad that we got something before the summer and spring started, so that we got at least this whole season to enjoy, and kind of tune the place up before winter comes all too soon once again. So that's the bulk of my plans. Sports wise, same as it's always been. Watch some baseball here, but summer's the time when I get away from sports, and then because the rest of the year is dominated by it to some degree, But the World Cup, obviously, I'll be tuned in for a lot of that, all the Canada games and all the marquee games that I care to watch thereafter. So that should be great. And what else is this summer? NBA draft, NBA finals, we got a lot still here. And then generally July and August are my down months when I just kind of like get away from sports and wait for NFL to come back, really. Get some golfing, Randy. We got to do a couple rounds this year for sure.
No, we absolutely have to get a couple more rounds in. Dano, how about you?
Yeah, no, we should. We might have to start an offshoot podcast of what it's like to be a parent of a rep athlete at a young age, because it's gotten stupid, and it's so much different from what I remember when I was growing up and playing. But our vacations are going to be. We're in Orangeville for a tournament. We're going to be in Newmarket in a couple of weeks. We're going to Kingston in July. I just finished our summer calendar now, and I think we've got a collective of like 6 or 7 days where we're not committed to being somewhere already, and that's not including trips to the park or just riding your bike or going over a friend's house. So it's going to be jam packed. It's going to be really busy. And to Neel's points, with some of the marquee sporting items on the calendar, it's going to be a fun summer for sure.
Yeah, my sister has a son who plays basketball, and she's going all over the place as well. Obviously, she wouldn't change a thing, but just going to and from Mississauga, from her place to the practices and all over throughout Southern Ontario and outside of the area, it's incredible the dedication that you guys have. Kudos to you guys, really.
I don't know if I call
Yeah, I don't think it was like
it might be a mental illness if you really think about it, but I'll take a compliment and strike.
well, sorry, I didn't catch the last word.
I said it, but I'll take the kudos either way, but it's maybe not a healthy thing if you really think about it. All the money, if I put all the money I was putting into sports into an RESP for the kid, he can go to the finest college in the land.
Maybe,
but at the same time, it's like 22, right? You wouldn't change it because you see the love in their eyes. So you enjoy it now while you can, because you can only play the kid's game for so long, right? And then he's gonna have to become an adult like the rest of us at some point.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think the three of us and a lot of people will agree that it's a lot better for children to be outside in competition rather than competing on a video game console. So yeah, that's
absolutely true. Especially our generation coming up. I spent all my summers outside. Winter was the time to be inside watching TV and playing video games, but summer we were outside all the time. Just kind of, times have certainly changed. I don't know that I see that, but that's great, Dan, that your kid is so hyped about something he's passionate about. And I got a couple of friends in that same boat, and they kind of live vicariously through their child, son or daughter, and it's a great thing to see, because you can see the passion that it's kind of brought up in them as well, right? And but yeah, for sure. Can't waste a beautiful summer inside too much. You got to take advantage and get that vitamin D,
Yeah. Overall, it's a great thing. If I can restrain myself from yelling at 11-year-old umpires and referees, that would make me enjoy it a little bit more. But all in all,
I would fail miserably. They'd have a picture of me up there within a week. Don't let this guy in.
Terrific stuff. So we will get into hockey to start, fellas. And hey, of course, with the Stanley Cup final set to start tomorrow, we might as well talk about those Maple Leafs. And we haven't had a chance to talk about the the draft lottery. And lo and behold, who wins it? The Toronto Maple Leafs. And Dano, a lot of people were surprised the Leafs were not the favorite team to win. And of course, the top prospect is Gavin McKenna, or is it? There's a young lad from Sweden that is taking a lot of attention as well, in Stenberg. There's also the possibility of trading the pick. I mean, what do you think the Leafs will do? Because there's a lot of options out there.
Yeah, it's hard to say because it's a whole new regime, new GM. They just hired an AGM today. I think some of their scouting staff has been changed over. So it's anything can happen at this point. The safe bet seems to be go with McKenna, put him on the wing with Matthews, see what you got for 2 more years, and try to get him to commit long term and build a team around what should be a pretty dominant first line if those are your two. But to your point, Ivar Stenberg had a terrific showing at the World Championship that just wrapped up a couple of days ago, and his stock is higher than it's ever been. And yeah, like if this team is sort of doing things at this point anyway that are inspiring from the sense that they're not the same. If we're trying to now change the DNA, even though that was the old GM's motto or objective, but now the new one is actually seemingly doing that. He's going to have a new coach, he's going to have a new administration around them, he's going to have a new team in front of him. So it'd be really interesting to see. My smart money would be on them just taking McKenna, because I can't imagine that the new GM Chikra would want to take that big of a swing at this point in his career and have it blow up in his face. So McKenna seems to be the safest pick.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly what I was going to say. The fact that if it was Treliving back as GM, I think he'd have more of it would be a little bit more easier for him to go off the board. I mean, yeah, sure, you could criticize all you want about the trades that he did make, and of course, the short tenure that he had, but I think it would be borderline impossible for Chayka to be as bold and not pick McKenna. And me personally, I think that what they really need is somebody on defense. Now, is it worth trading that first overall pick? Maybe get somebody of value because whatever Matthews is going to do with his future, and we'll get to that in a minute. I really don't know if Gavin McKenna is the way to go.
Who knows? Honestly, Randy, you know this. The draft is very much a crapshoot, right? There's some picks that are just slam dunks, but those are few and far between. Everybody else who goes first. I was just reading today about they were revisiting the Taylor versus Tyler first round where Hall eventually went. And if he wins a cup now with Carolina, you can say that it's probably a draw. But, it's all, in my opinion, you take the best player available and then you're working from there. If you take McKenna, who seems to be most critics would peg him as the number one. Like I said, with Stenberg coming up with especially a strong showing lately. But then guys like Reed and Malhotra, Verhoff has maybe even dropped off more than people would have assumed, even watching him come in at a few of the World Junior games of this year. Like he's a guy that got people really excited about his possibilities as well. So I don't know. I don't know. Like I know that their need is on defense, but I don't know that you can pass up one of those two, what seem to be slam dunk forwards that might go 1-2, and then maybe parlay that or trade some other pieces to get a defenseman. Apparently Riley's on the block, so we got a few things in the hopper. They're in a good position coming out of what was a disastrous year, at least to put some fire under the retool. I wouldn't call it a rebuild at this point, but you can make significant enough moves that are meaningful that should impact the team next year. And really, whoever you take at number one, or even if you trade and drop down to 3, you can't go wrong. You're going to be better than you were last year. So they're in a good spot.
Yeah, and I don't know if you would call the Oilers season disastrous at all, but Neel, of course, they did fire Chris Knobloch. And me personally, I can't figure out why. You go to 2 cup finals in a row, and your goaltending was as subject as it was. And McDavid and Draisaitl kill themselves during the Olympics, and Chris is out after making the cup final the previous 2 years. I did whip up a couple of numbers here for not only Knobloch but Craig Berube. That's a damn good regular season coaching record that Knobloch had. And like I said, made 2 cup finals in a row. And that Florida Panther team was just an absolute juggernaut, in my opinion, at least. Did the Oilers get it right in firing Knobloch?
It's a tough one, but I have to say yes. The only reason being, when you – and I think actually Knobloch is a good coach. Like overall, the guy is a pretty good coach. He makes adjustments well. He's not one of these stagnant guys. He's he doesn't show much emotion, but he can make adjustments well. But again, any coach coming to Edmonton is going to benefit from the absolutely massive offensive firepower that the team has, but they're going to struggle with the defensive lapses that the team also has, and the defensive ceiling, which is kind of low. And, the problem being here is that he gets hired in 2023. They immediately have success. They go to 2, or at least the next 2 years, cup finals. And honestly, almost won the first one. They made a absolutely epic comeback and just lost by a goal in the last game. And the problem here is that, you run into a team like Florida, by no means inferior, but when it comes to winning in the playoffs, as I've said on this podcast before, defense always wins. A dominant defense will always, in my opinion, beat a dominant offense that can't play defense on the other end, because the great defense ends up making offense for you anyways. Look at the Spurs, look at the Thunder, look at the Florida Panthers. for evidence of that. And those guys, when a team and its stars step up their game in the playoffs beyond what their potential on paper is, then that's a better team. And that's what Florida did. And I think Edmonton a lot of times rested on their laurels, in 2 tough finals. They might have beat a lot of other teams in the East, but not Florida. And, when you have that type of success and you come that close, and the second time against Florida, you kind of get ripped apart more so than you did the first time. You didn't really learn from it. In fact, they took even more advantage of you the second time around. And then what happened this year was a kind of a steep fall off. And you're going to quickly lose a contention locker room, a locker room where guys feel that they should be in contention, when you have a sudden drop off like they did this year, going out against a lower seed in Anaheim in the first round. Not a lot of coaches are going to survive that. And it says less about, I think, the quality of the coach necessarily as far as play calling adjustments. And it just says more about the voice that coach carries in that locker room fading away, which is a natural progression in professional sports when you got guys that are on strict timelines, when you got contract situations coming up. And I guarantee you this, they are not firing Knobloch unless McDavid does not put up a fight against it or actually says a word in private in favor of that move to the GM.
That's the thing. I got to say, Neel, that's the thing that really surprises me the most, because McDavid and Knobloch was McDavid's coach in Erie in the OHL. And we all have to assume that McDavid was so instrumental in getting Knobloch that opportunity in the first place. And it blows my mind to think that McDavid was the one who was instrumental in telling Knobloch to take a hike.
I think when it comes down to McDavid, he would be the most sought after free agent maybe ever, and so that's not lost upon him. And I guess when you have this type of success and you're thinking about, is the grass greener on the other side? Can Edmonton give me all I want? Has this kind of dog puttered out, so to speak? You start to throw your weight around maybe a little bit more. Your comments, your opinions are a little bit louder than they were. And because this is desperation now, like in order to stay in Edmonton, in order to even feel like he has a future in Edmonton, they can't be going backwards. And when that happens, like it did this year, you've been so close to success. I mean, I think any superstar without a championship worth his salt is going to fall into that trap more often than not. It's rare when a guy doesn't do that. I would have to say it's a rare thing in hockey, but this guy is a very extremely rare specimen, McDavid. So you got to say that he's got his eye on a couple of guys, and they are certainly going to seek his input if they have any hope of keeping him around.
And it's going to be such a challenge to do so because Edmonton, of course, has the history, but our players looking to play in Edmonton, let alone the rest of Canada, and perhaps we'll touch on that in a moment. But guys, I have to say, with Marner, of course, making his way to the clinching a spot to the Cup final. I was wondering, and I'm sure you guys were as well, how incredible it would be if the Montreal Canadiens did come out of the East and Leaf fans would have to endure Montreal or Mitch Marner winning the Stanley Cup. And of course, it's been 1993 since a Canadian team has won the Stanley Cup. And there's no chance that I want to see Montreal win a cup, but I would sure more so be interested if they were in the Cup final than Carolina. Have you guys lost interest because the Canadiens aren't in the final this year? Dano?
I feel like most Toronto fans are watching this year just to see people fail, whether it's Marner or if it's Montreal or if it's Buffalo even. Can you imagine if Buffalo made it to the finals, how much Toronto fans would have had a problem with that? But this is very Toronto.
I don't think. Well, I don't think it's as much as Montreal, but
no, but still, you know what I mean. It's just like this team didn't do anything for 14 years or however long it was until they were in the playoffs, and then they go on this incredible run, and it's like it's just another way Toronto makes everything about them. Right? And we know, like any blue-blooded Leaf fan will tell you that Marner is winning the Cup and winning the Conn Smythe, and he's going to parade it through the downtown Toronto during the World Cup, and it's just going to be like an salt in the wound sort of thing. But I would love to see Carolina win. I just wanted very quickly to go back on the Edmonton thing, where it's funny that you've got two teams in the final now that have very different philosophies. Where Carolina is a team that since Rod Brind'Amour took over in 2018, they've been a really good team, right? They've won at least one round almost every year in the playoffs, but they've always hit that wall, right? Second round, third round, never made it to the final before. And there's always been chatter about, does Brind'Amour need to go? Does the core need to be broken up? Do we need a better goalie? But they've, for the large part, stuck with their team. Like a few guys in and out here or there, but never, they tried with Rantanen. But the Ahos, the Jordan Stalls, the Slavins, they've been there for forever. Brind'Amour's been there forever, and like it's finally working now. Not unlike the Capitals when they finally broke through as well. Where on the flip side, you've got Vegas that literally fired their coach a couple weeks before the playoffs, brought in Tortorella, are always looking for. They brought in Eichel, they brought in Stone, they brought in Marner. Right, they're always revamping their lineup based on what have you done for me lately. And they seem to be, the new place that everybody wants to go because they're dedicated to winning and winning now at all costs. Right? They're not taking the slow approach. If you're not performing, you're out the door. There's only two guys left from the expansion draft, which was only 9 years ago. So the Oilers the same way. Where I just don't like Stan Bowman. I don't think he's a good GM. So I would have kept Knobloch. I don't see that he was the problem. Your defense and your goalie are clearly the problem on that team. You can't rely on two guys to carry you all the fucking time. So if I were the Oilers, I would stick with more of the let's stick with our guys. Let's keep Connor Browns. Let's keep Donner Norris, even though he's not performing. But let's commit to our group and find the right pieces to complement. That's always been the problem with Toronto too, where you can't change over the bottom six every year and expect the team to be good because chemistry in sports is way more valuable than anything else sometimes. And sometimes it works for guys and they work. But that's what I mean. So it's interesting in my mind where there's really two schools of thoughts, and they're both proven to be successes because they're both in the finals right now.
But I think the problem, Dano, is that, and you're talking about chemistry, and it's so huge. But really, I think the problem lies solely with Matthews. I mean, there's no way that Nylander and if Riley was on the ice, I think Brandon Carlo was certainly on the ice. How could they not jump in and jump Ratko Gudas when he took out Matthews the way he did? And I am fully convinced that Matthews does not have a good connection with anybody on that team. Otherwise, Nylander, and who knows, maybe it's solely a Nylander thing, but how come these guys? I mean, that's the first rule of the sacred game of hockey, and that everybody knows you have to stick up for, especially your captain, the one-time MVP of the league, and they didn't go help him out. I think it's solely on Matthews personally. I think that he is the problem.
He could be, and I don't have a good justification as to why he might not be. But that's not even the point I was trying to drive home. With the Leafs, they need to figure out who their guys are that represent their culture and the brand and the sort of hockey that they want to employ, and then start to gel the team. If Matthews is the problem, then ship him out, because you haven't shown anything in the decade he's been here that he can help this team get over the hump. Maybe Sundin can help him be the leader that, he wants to grow into. Maybe he can become the Barkov that we think he could be with the help of a Sundin. I don't know. But you can't do two things at once. You can't be so dedicated to half the team, but then change 12 players every year. And obviously in Toronto, it didn't work, because then, you're just, you know, it's just a different identity. It's a different style of play. It's different. And it's hard as a player too to get comfortable with guys, to to subconsciously know where they're going before the play develops, to have that unspoken bond off the ice, like all those little things that go into just needing time to build a team. You know, it's not unlike my 10-year-old son team, where it's like if 8 guys leave one year, you can't expect us to be a top flight team the next year just based on skill alone, because these kids need to, not unlike the Leafs. And it's funny, we had this conversation at a recent tournament where, you know, a bunch of 11-year-olds who just seemingly don't care if the other one gets embarrassed or gets hurt or gets walked all over. Like, there's no camaraderie, there's no picking each other up, there's no supporting each other when your captain is metaphorically or literally lying on the ice, you know, due to a season-ending injury. You got to jump in there and help each other out, right? So I don't know. With the Leafs, that's a whole different story. But it was just it was funny that Knobloch was the sacrificial lamb in a scenario, which I agree with you, Randy. It doesn't seem like it was his fault.
Yeah, I guess really in the end, I mean, and you're so bang on about the Golden Knights, and they change. I mean, this is their 4th coach in 9 years, and their 3rd appearance in the Cup final. You'd have to think that they are, you know, with 4 coaches, that they're having a terrible time in Vegas, and it's far from the case. I mean, and look what they did with Marc-Andre Fleury. You know, he seemed to be the signature piece for the expansion year where they went to the Cup final, and they told him to walk. You know, and a lot of people thought it was very like a very surprise move, and maybe that is the problem. I mean, yeah, to your point about the bottom 6 players, you know, yeah, they're changing out those guys quite rapidly, but you know, why didn't they get rid of Marner? I mean, I think there's a number of things that you could think of. I mean, the one thing that always sticks out to me was Patrick Marleau. When he was here in Toronto, he was still playing consecutively all those games because of the consecutive game streak. Why does that matter in the NHL? I mean, nobody could tell me who the I think it was Phil Kessel, but you know, the consecutive game streak doesn't mean a hill of beans in the NHL. And we're getting off topic here, of course, but
you know,
it is. Please, Neel, go ahead.
No, it's just funny you mentioned Phil Kessel, because you know, I was thinking about giving a thought on Marner, and Phil Kessel is a great name to bring up when you bring up Marner, because he was terrible. Or at least he was the sacrificial lamb. A lot of people could point to him. And then he goes to Pittsburgh. He won a cup with Pittsburgh, right?
He won 2.
Ooh,
Yeah, 2 with Pittsburgh. And he was, he was the player that everyone envisioned him to, they wanted him to be prior. And the same
Well, he
thing
didn't have any help, but I mean, yeah, to your point.
No, I'm just saying that, like, you know, he had a bad rep. That he was being blamed for a lot of stuff, and yeah, his attitude came out as childish sometimes, petty, whatever it was. But the winning player, was there inside him. It's just that we couldn't bring it out. Same thing with Marner here. Like, he had great moments for Toronto along a lot of these seasons, anyways. You know, playoffs is a different story, but you got to have the right scenario too to bring out. Unless you're an A-level superstar, if you're one of the B tier guy, B and C tier star quality type guys, sometimes you need situation. And Vegas is just a much better run organization over the last, you know, since they've been in the league than the Leafs are. The team building is much better. Look at the guys around Marner now. Like, you got Jack Eichel and Mark Stone. These are 2 leaders. These are 2 of the best players on the team. Also 2 of the toughest guys on the team. Like, you don't get that in Toronto. And Marner can now be in a more natural role where he doesn't have to be dependent on for everything. I mean, Eichel runs the show there really more than anyone. And Stone is kind of like the, you know, he's just a tough guy, man. And he plays a great role, always hanging out in that right side or left wing area of the net, always ready to kind of, you know, give feeds off of there. And like, they just have a good game plan. And yeah, I mean, they did fire Cassidy to Dan, like Dan mentioned. And, you know, that move is absolutely worked out. And again, situation, bold moves, thinking outside the box. These are things that, just resting on your laurels as, oh, we're Toronto, is never going to get it done. And you put together a shit product. You're basically the New York Knicks of the NHL. And the only difference now is that the Knicks are actually good, and you've fallen off and wasted all your playoff opportunities. So, and on a point of Tortorella, I just thought of this memory, but back when he was coaching the Rangers, I visited New York with a couple of friends. This must have been, I don't know when, 10 years ago. And we went to a restaurant. And sitting next to me, the next table over was Tortorella.
No
And
kidding.
yeah. So I have a Tortorella story there, and it's cool to see that he's in the Cup final. And just to your point about is it lost interest with Montreal not being there? The only reason I'm saying no is because Carolina was clearly the superior team. I mean, they've been dominating to another level in this playoffs. Another well-built team, very well-built team. So it's going to be high-level hockey in the Stanley Cup final. Montreal has a bright future. They're not ready quite yet. I think they exceeded expectations, as did Buffalo. These are two teams I think are really going to be coming up and playoff stalwarts in the next 5 to 10 years. Like every year, they're going to be in there. And there could be a cup coming to one of those teams in the next 5 years. You never know. But right now, I think this is the right finals. I think Colorado even, they fell victim to just a better game plan, better coaching, better execution in Vegas, who's peaking at the right time. So I think what you have here is two teams that are peaking at the right time, full of great veterans, good, and it's going to be good hockey. And so I think that I'm very interested in this Cup final, to be quite honest, because even though Carolina's favored, I think Vegas, it's kind of a coin flip, to be honest.
Well, it certainly is a coin flip. I mean, I can't figure it out. And you're completely right in how dominant Carolina was against Montreal. Vegas just seemed to have caught fire ever since Tortorella took over as bench boss. And these two teams appear to be so evenly matched. And, you want to take a look at Vegas again with the bold moves that they take. How about picking up Carter Hart, who was a part of the World Junior sex abuse case, or the sexual assault case during the World Juniors in London. So, it's a very risky move, and they're in the Cup final. So, and of course, along with those Golden Knights in the Cup final, Dano, is Mitch Marner. A lot of Leaf fans definitely could have seen this coming. I don't think a lot of people are overly surprised that it happened in the first year, but there he is. And, to tie it in with another situation here in Toronto, as Austin Matthews continues going on, trucking along with the Toronto Maple Leafs, he's seeing his boy live a life of anonymity, great success in a better climate, close to his hometown. Of course, Matthews being from Arizona. I'm more so thinking that Matthews will see this, let alone with the Kachucks and the Quinn Hughes, Johnny Gaudreau leaving Calgary, that Matthews is going to walk to tie it all in. I know I threw a lot at you, but Marner making the Cup final, as well as Matthews seeing from the outside the success that he could have outside of Toronto. That's a lot to take in for Leafs fans.
Yeah, I don't necessarily know that Marner specifically will add to that, but you beat me to it, where it's his buddies, it's the American friends, it's the Kachucks, it's the Quinns, it's Gaudreau. He doesn't strike me as the type of guy that wants to stay here forever. So yeah, I can see him wanting to go down south and maybe play in Minnesota or Utah or somewhere closer to home as he gets a little bit older. But I don't know. It's always bothered me when players say they can't play on the biggest stage. I don't know. I'm not.
It's
a
hockey
professional.
player. It's hockey players personally. I mean, I would think that a lot of players would go to the Knicks if they had a decent program, if the owner wasn't insane. But
Well, even
you know,
baseball, baseball, soccer, the Yankees attracted the biggest free agents every year. Barcelona, Madrid, Bayern, like they draw the big boys because the bigger the athlete, the bigger the ego, you would think, and the more they want to win on the biggest stage to prove that they're the best in the world. Not that I'm going to go hide in a place where, and again, I'm not condoning death threats at anybody's family. That's not what I'm talking about. But to say that,
sure.
I can't perform because there's too much pressure. Well, then, I don't know. I don't know what the fuck to tell you. That's why a guy like Nylander is appealing to Toronto fans, where he's frustrating because he's so streaky. He doesn't play with that kind of grit that Toronto fans normally like. And, going back to talking about Kessel, we ran him out of town sooner than we probably should have. We sort of shit on Sundin during his entire time here. Guys like Larry Murphy, like quality players. Some of them, if not all of them, will be Hall of Famers eventually. But they don't play with that grit. Like we like the Ty Domies, we like the Darcy Tuckers, the Shane Corsons. But Nylander has said over and over again, time and time again, they asked him just a couple weeks ago. He's like, this is where I want to play. This is the stage I want to be on, and this is the lights I want to be under. And I think he loved that from a guy because, he sort of embraces the pressure that comes with winning here. But I can't imagine it was any different in Boston before they won in 03 or the Cubs before they won after 101 years. I would think that you want that. And if you don't, then, let them go now and find the right guys who do want to be here and can make it work. But
do you think that it's a USA thing? I mean, Nylander saying he wants to stay here because, and he's obviously from Sweden. Matt Sundin, you didn't hear any comment from him and the thought of him leaving Toronto until the very tail end of his career. Yeah. Is it just simply point blank that Americans have a different mindset? And when it comes to hockey, it doesn't really matter where you win the cup so long as you win it.
Here's my question.
Yeah, go ahead, Neel. Sorry.
I guess I'm just going to add this in here. Here's my question. Canada's got the best hockey players in the world when you consider,
No, for now, but
yeah, but I'm just saying, like, when is the last time that an A+ Canadian player was leading the Maple Leafs in his prime? Just give me the name.
A Canadian leading
A+ Canadian player, and the answer is why not? Why for so long have we just depended on Swedish guys, American guys, Russian guys, as the A+ top options on our team, leading the way as our leaders, best players? Why isn't Toronto going after the best Canadian guys while they're in their prime? I'm not talking about late prime, Tavares and whoever else. I'm talking about guys in their prime, absolute superstars. Why can't we get one of those? We're supposed to be a premier franchise that you would imagine, like, guys want to go to the Lakers, guys want to go to the, at least. I mean, it just stuns me that, Toronto hasn't thrown their weight around and said, hey, come here, end the curse. Where's our Jalen Brunson? Where's that move? It stuns me.
Gavin McKenna.
Gavin McKenna, sure.
Gavin McKenna.
Neil does. I mean, Neil does have a point. I mean, off the top of my head, I could think of the fact that Toronto didn't have the opportunity really to draft these players. I mean, say what you want about Scott Niedermayer, but Toronto traded that pick, and it was a terrible trade. But Wayne Gretzky spent the majority of his career. Well, I mean, he didn't really have an opportunity to be signed as a free agent. Mario Lemieux spent his entire career with one team. Sidney Crosby spent his entire career with one team. Same thing is going on with McDavid, Steve Yzerman. Jerome McGinley floated around towards the end of his career, but he was traded. I don't think he was ever signed as a free agent, but he spent the majority of his year with one team. So, yeah, I mean, like, to Dano's point, we revere the Tuckers and the Corsons, the Wendell Clarks, but Toronto has never had the chance to draft that elite player. Say what you want about Mitch Marner, but I mean, the NHL, they really don't have that opportunity where the elite players are getting snatched up from free agency. Not in my opinion.
No, but not even a free agency, but like a team like Minnesota, even Vegas is a good example of if an Eichel or a Quinn Hughes becomes available, they go fucking get him, right? And they don't care what they sacrifice or how much it costs. And even before the cap, Toronto just didn't do that. They didn't go get the guy that others might be dangling. They didn't go get Matthew Tkachuk. You know what I mean? Like they're always. And that's the kind of attitude I think that they need to have. Where, to Neel's point, go get a good Canadian kid who people can rally behind, who plays the kind of game they want, who wants to be here, who won't leave town and shit all over them every chance he gets, which Marner seems to be doing. And even when he was here, Marner was just unlikable because he just didn't understand the fan base. He didn't understand the passion behind it. Some of the comments he would make, or the contract demands, or the screwing around, or this and that.
See, I don't think that's the case at all. I don't think that's the case. I think that, well, he got his car got jacked. There's death threats and garbage being thrown around at his house, and I think that was really it. I mean, I think he understands it plenty. It's just that he's getting treated like a slug. People are dumping on his wife, and his wife, who I'm guessing was pregnant at the time. I mean, they just had the kid, but you're going through that while your wife is pregnant and all you're doing is being a hockey player. I think that's the reason why. I mean, I really don't believe that people should be blaming Marner because, if I was Mitch Marner, I wouldn't want to play in this city either.
Well, then why, when you were a younger player, did you use your dad to jerk around the club to get the kind of money that you thought you deserved for future rights, or make the kind of comments about teammates, or just all these sort of underhanded things that were serving to Mitch Marner, but not to the community, at least in the public eye? I'm sure he did some good stuff. I'm not saying he's a bad guy through and through.
Sure,
but I'm saying the way he carried himself in post-game interviews, and the way that he would, I don't know if he knew that he was better than everybody, but knowing that Leaf fans love a guy like Wendell Clark, we'll build a golden statue of him and put it in the middle of Dundas Square before we, build one of Sundin, who was arguably the best player to ever play for the Leafs. You have to understand that that's the mentality of this city. We're sort of, we're a world-class city, but we're blue-collar deep down, and we like guys who keep their nose down, work hard, don't blame others, and get the fucking job done. And he didn't really do any of those things. So again, I'm not condoning the behavior of a very few fans who went overboard and made it uncomfortable for him and his family as well. So near the end, yeah, he just wanted out. And it was obvious from maybe even 2 years ago that he wasn't going to stay here anymore. But then even then, Randy, if you know that you don't want to be here, why wait until the end and then leave the way he did, right? Why not say, like Tkachuk? I hate Matthew Tkachuk, but give him full credit to say, I am not signing here. So trade me, get something for me, and let's, it'll make the split that much more amicable. And, I'm helping you as much as I can. Even Quinn Hughes, he did the same thing. And Marner didn't do that for the Leafs as maybe the last token of goodwill that he could have left here for the fans.
Well, the fact that he didn't waive his no trade clause to go to Carolina, Dano, I mean, that in and itself is a black flag. That was a bad move by Marner. If that was the case and Marner could have gone to Carolina, sure, they either just gave birth to their son, or his wife was just about to give birth. To your point, I completely agree with you. Everything else being equal, I can appreciate Marner having a difficult time, with those few fans who spoil it.
Of course, he's a human being, and honestly, I wouldn't care to see him win the cup. It's not gonna sort of burn me. I may play tough when I talk to friends, or come in here and talk to you guys and be like, he's a piece of shit. But good on him if he wins, right? He's put himself in a position that's right for him, but he obviously wasn't right for us. So, be on your way, do what you got to do. Wish you all the luck, but now we got to focus on what's happening here. To Kelly McCrimmon's points, he said a couple of days ago, where it's just Toronto's just got to get over it, right? He's a human being with his own motives and own problems and own anxieties, and this is what's good for him and his family. So good on him, right? What are you going to do?
Absolutely.
I've never understood the no trade clause. It's in the NBA too. Marner had one. I just think it's such a bad thing for fans. A guy saying he won't go to this team, that team. That team wants you. You're getting paid max contracts usually. The guys who get no trade clause, they usually get fat contracts. I mean, it's just I'll never be for no trade clauses in any sport, to be honest.
Same. I think it's ridiculous.
Absolutely. And I think that's a big thing that the owners really need to rally around. Eliminate no trade clauses, like jack up the salary cap even more. I say even as much as like $10 million, get rid of no trade clauses. And I think that would be a huge benefit to not only the owners, but to the NHL as a whole. Very quickly, guys, who do you think is going to take it? I'm thinking Vegas has got it. I'm going to go Vegas 6.
I'm going to go against myself. I want Carolina to win because I really like Brendan Moore. I like guys like Aho. I would love to see Freddie Anderson win it. So I want Carolina, but I think Vegas will win.
I'm going Carolina, and I think Brendan Moore is an excellent coach. Probably doesn't get talked about enough, maybe because he's in Carolina. But Vegas is peaking. I'll give them that. They took out. They swept Colorado. That's, I'm not surprised that anyone picks them. But Carolina went untouched as well throughout the entire playoffs. They only lost one game, I think, to game 1 to Montreal. That's it. That's unheard of in the NHL, isn't it? Like to go 12-1 in the leading up to the Stanley Cup final. I just think that they have home court or home ice advantage, and that might be the difference in a series so tight. So I'll just go Carolina.
Yeah, and you mentioned Florida before, Neel, where if you watch this Carolina team, they're playing that, they're just solid right now. They're playing really disciplined, tight hockey. They're good on defense. They're limiting shots, and they're capitalizing on opportunities. So they've got everything that equates to a championship team as well. And I would love to see them win.
Yeah, like what they did to Montreal, limiting them to 3 shots in the third period, was it? Something like that. They just put their foot down on them and said, "You're not getting up."
Yeah, there was a small crack. They had about 2 weeks off in between the second round and third round, and shake off a little bit of the rust, but then they got right back to business. And
absolutely,
they look like a really strong team right now.
Montreal got a nice tease there, but that's about all it was.
That's about it. Good.
Yeah, especially winning that first game. But lo and behold, fellas, look over down south once again, and the NBA Finals is set with the New York Knicks heading to the finals for the first time this century. It has been since 1973 since the Knicks won the Larry O'Brien Trophy. Dan, you have to think that the league is just tickled pink with the fact that New York is back in the finals.
It's a big one for sure. It's a big market. They're sort of a lovable loser, and Neel mentioned them before as sort of the Leafs of the NBA. But they finally made it, and even from a Toronto standpoint, we've got rooting interest with Anunoby there, and you've got the future star of your league, if not already. It's slowly turning into that in Wembanyama out in San Antonio. So it should be a really fun series. Some really interesting matchups, key markets for the league. So if I was a commissioner, I'd be very happy with this final.
Mm-hmm. Do you think that the league would rather have seen San Antonio than Oklahoma City? OKC, they have just such a stacked team. The two-time MVP is on OKC. You have to think that they would love to see the American heartland of Oklahoma City return to the NBA Finals, create some sort of dynasty thing going on. But San Antonio does have the history. If you were the league, would you rather see San Antonio or Oklahoma City face those Knicks?
I think if you're the league, you'd rather see San Antonio because Wemby, you know, superstars and especially all-time superstars, they sell a lot for the NBA. The NBA is a very star-focused league, unlike more than any other sport, anyways. And Wemby, they have really high hopes that he could even one day enter the GOAT conversation. It's a distinct possibility at this point for what he's already done 3 years into his career. I mean, it's incredible. If he wins a championship, it's unheard of. Like, he's well on his way, at least from a very premature perspective, to entering that conversation. If he wins Defensive Player of the Year, Finals MVP, all in the same year, in his third year, I mean, that would just be incredible. Again, I've said it, health will matter. Health will be the defining thing for this guy throughout his career. If he stays healthy, it's almost a lock that he's going to end up as a Mount Rushmore type player at the very least. Because he's got that killer instinct. He's got the so-called Mamba mentality, I think you could call it. He's sure of himself. He's disciplined. He's got the right mentality, and he's got an incredible game inside and outside on both ends of the floor. I mean, he's becoming a leader as well. So, yeah, you know what? I don't think it's a coincidence that, I am a big conspiracy theorist about the NBA. I love basketball, but I'm a huge critic of the NBA as far as my conspiracy theories go. And I do not think it was blind luck only that netted them 3 top 4 picks in the last 4 years. And because now they got Wembanyama, they got Stephon Castle, and they got Dylan Harper, who I truly believe, will be the best big 3 in the league within a couple of years and for many years after that. And there's not going to be another team that touches the quality of those 3 players together. It's going to be very difficult, let's just say, because look at what they're doing already, right? It's a third-year player, a second-year player, and a first-year player, and they're dominating who we thought was going to be the dynasty. Now, granted, Oklahoma City was injured, but the thing when you ask the question about the league is Shea is a Canadian player. I mean, even though Wembanyama is French, Shea doesn't jump off the screen like Wemby. He's not outspoken like Wemby. And people hate on him, I think undeservedly so, for his foul baiting, free throw merchant type stuff, flopping. They have all this criticism about it, but I just think that's stupid hate that people that don't really understand what skill in the NBA today entails to be great. You got to have some little thing, aces up your sleeve as a player. And that just happens to be something he does extremely well. And I mean, he put on an incredible performance in Game 7. You cannot put anything about that loss on Shea. He played like an MVP. He played like a champion. And I'm proud as a Canadian of watching him in Game 7. It's just that he didn't really have the help that OKC is known to have. And they got some huge decisions ahead of them now. But to be fair, to answer your question, this is the dream finals for the NBA for Adam Silver, the Mecca against the Messiah, I guess you could call it.
Well done. But, Neel, and with all things, the coincidence of it all, you mentioned the 3 players drafted. You mentioned how Chris Paul, well, I know that you and I have talked in episodes past where Chris Paul gets traded out of New Orleans. New Orleans gets Zion Williamson. Luka Doncic gets Dallas trades Luka Doncic, and then they get Cooper Flagg in the draft. But why are you going to do that to San Antonio? I mean, it's a small city. And yeah, sure, they had the history, but there's a lot of big markets out there, like New York, who went 30 years without making a final. I mean, what other big cities are out there that, I mean, maybe the LA Clippers, I mean, throw them a bone. You think about, Dallas made a finals with Luka and they won a championship, in 2011, but they really haven't had that much of a dynasty either. Why are they going to give San Antonio so much help?
There's a very good reason for it, actually, Randy. If you want me to dive into my conspiracy Neel brain,
please.
The reason is, in my opinion, is because if the NBA did in fact play a role in, let's say, nudging the result of where Wemby would end up going, because it was between 4 teams and they really only had a 25% chance. So, ping pong ball here, do a little tap to another ping pong ball. There, you never know how this stuff happens and what little aces the Silver has up his sleeve when you talk about that. But look, the San Antonio Spurs have already proven that they are the premier franchise as far as management quality, front office, kind of the culture that they have. Greg Popovich being at the center of all of that. They've already heralded two of the greatest centers of all time, Robinson, Duncan, both number one picks as well. They know how to take care of that type of player, keep them healthy perhaps, not fuck up their future. At the very least, they are going to protect Wemby's future responsibly. And the Wemby is way too important, and I think the league knew this even before he came in. He's 7'5". The guy, this is not a friendly kind of scenario to the health of guys of that size, especially the way Wemby plays. He's got a little bit of guard in him as well, the way he plays sometimes. And, that has to be protected at multiple different levels, and even to levels that Wemby himself may not perceive. And so San Antonio was the best choice when you talk about, I don't even know who the other three choices were, but if you're talking about teams like Memphis, Utah, whoever else, Charlotte, whoever it may have been, there's nobody that's going to protect the future of a player better than San Antonio. So I give them that. They've earned that title. They've earned that reputation. So that would be me thinking that. But just you mentioned Chris Paul. And isn't it interesting that Chris Paul had an instrumental mentorship role for both Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and Victor Wembanyama? Yeah. And he was basically a mentor to both of them, Wemby in his rookie year and then Shai in his first year in OKC. And look at these two guys now, man. And so kudos to Chris Paul. Finish his career with the Raptors.
Yeah. Whatever happened in LA that second go around, but yeah, to your point, San Antonio does seem to be like the premier franchise in taking care of those players. Whatever happened with Kawhi Leonard in San Antonio, obviously it ended with the Raptors benefiting. But with that, and quickly on the state of the league, there's been a huge thing about load management guys, and we are seeing it. A number of star players are just not playing the necessary amount of games, and they are taking a lot of games off where a lot of people are questioning that they should be, and are they really taking the game for granted? And Neel did bring up what is seems to be a very viable option in curbing the possibility of tanking, and that is with the draft lottery. So basically, and correct me if I'm wrong, Neel, non-playoff teams are going to get 3 balls in the upcoming draft lottery, but the bottom 3 are going to get 2. Play-in teams are going to get 2 balls, but the loser of the 7-8 game is going to get 1. Seems like a great way to curb tanking. You finish in the bottom 3, you're not going to get the best odds to win the draft.
Yeah, it could be. I'm not sure if it's the bottom 3 or bottom 4 teams. I think you're right; it is 3, but it's not a cure for tanking. It's just a improvement on blatant tanking, like shameless tanking, like Sam Hinkie level, Utah Jazz level tanking, and kind of this stuff where Utah was in a position to win at least 10 more games than they actually did last season, and they blatantly sat their best players in the fourth quarter in close games or games where they had the lead. And who would want to watch a product like that? Like, who would feel proud to be a Utah Jazz team or a Philadelphia 76ers team when, and I truly believe there is such a thing called karma, and all those years, tanking like that, Philly didn't deserve to win that game 7 against us. And that's why Kawhi's one of those bounces was for Sam Hinkie. Let's just put it that way. One of those 4 bounces on Kawhi's shot. And it'll make the product better. How much better remains to be seen, but it certainly helps teams like Toronto because we're never in the bottom 3 or 4 teams in the league. And we're always in that muddled middle. If we're not in the playoff picture, we're always kind of that dead zone, as people call it. And so we'll always have an equal, a good chance at, getting a better pick going forward. But hopefully that won't be needed for at least several years to come, the way we're looking right now. Adam Silver got fed up finally and is finally doing something about it. Long overdue. I still think they need to reduce the season by 10 to 14 games from where it is. 82 is way too much. But yeah, hopefully that does something good for the quality of the regular season, because the playoffs have been great, and they tend to be good every year. I don't think I have a problem with the playoffs at all, but the regular season has lost a lot of its steam over the last few years, 100%.
It certainly has lost its steam, but Dano, I got to say, and like Neel and I have gone back and forth in this a lot of times, but with regards to the number of games in the regular season. But where do you stand with the NBA? Because the both of us, Neel and I, of course, and I'm sure you do too, that the NBA product has really dropped off in the past little while. Star players are not playing as many games. I mean, do you think that they should reduce the regular season? I personally don't think so. But I think that they did get a good thing going with these the changes with the draft lottery. I mean, in an overall sense, what do you think about the NBA in the past little while?
Yeah, I think maybe they're just in a bit of a transition, if you will. Like the old guard, the LeBrons, the Pauls, they're obviously on their way out. SGA is as great as he is. Neel mentioned it before. He's just whatever he's lacking. Maybe it's because he's Canadian. Maybe because he plays on a Oklahoma that's not doesn't draw a ton of fans if they weren't reigning champions. But now you've got Wemby coming up, you've got Flag coming up, you've got even with guys like Barnes and stuff. Like there's a new generation of players are coming, and they seem to have a different mentality than the LeBron era star that really took over running the league for all intents and purposes. Like it was the inmates running the asylum, and they sort of dictated who went where and who played when, and what coaches were hired, what general managers were included, even potential owners of teams, sort of ran through the star players. I think they're going to kind of get away from that a little bit because they see the detriment of it, where at the end of the day, it is a business. You got to put on a good product. And you got to keep the fans engaged. We've had multiple debates on this podcast too, just about the personalities of these players, like talking about LeBron specifically, whether or not he's a good person or a good ambassador, or if he's doing too much to, he's like a player, coach, general manager, all rolled into one. I don't know if that's a good thing either. So the product is still exciting, right? There's still moments. It's still one of the more dynamic sports because it has the benefit of sort of a meticulous chess game, but also a street brawl at the same time without the stupidity of actually dropping gloves and fighting like hockey does. So I think the league will be okay. I think load management will slowly go away. But players still hold a ton of weight in that league. With the benches, the size that they are, they probably have the right to demand what they're demanding. If they become that much scale and they're drawing that many eyeballs and TV ratings are going up and jersey sales are selling because of them, then they can demand that, unlike a 40-man roster for football or a 24 or 26-man roster for hockey. But I think a new generation is coming, and I think the game's going to evolve to where it needs to be. I know that's sort of a cop-out answer, but give it a few years before we really dissect where the NBA is, because I think they're in transition right now.
Yeah, and hopefully this new crop led by Victor will see the value in really representing the brand and not take so many games off. I mean, of course, being a 7-foot tall player, they're more susceptible to injuries, but there's just such a jump from regular season to the playoffs. The playoffs have been fantastic, as Neel was saying. I couldn't agree more. But something does need to happen with the NBA and especially its regular season. Very quickly before I ask a prediction, I do want to talk about the Knicks specifically, and they just seem to be such a team that everybody could rally towards. I mean, who does not appreciate and admire Jalen Brunson? Of course, the three of us have an affection for OG Anunoby, for what he has done for the Raptors. Could Spike Lee see the promised land and win that championship? I mean, Neel, I don't know if we would have seen this in the those Knicks teams in the 90s. I mean, with Oakley and whatever you want to say about John Starks, but the New York Knicks just seems to be a team that a lot of fans are pulling for, especially and including Raptor fans, even though we're in the same division.
Absolutely. I'm going for the Knicks myself. The OG piece is something, but I just kind of like the characters on their team. They seem like fun-loving guys. They seem serious about basketball, though, but they don't have that diva kind of in them. I mean, you can say what you want about Cat. He's zesty as hell, but I don't think he's a diva in the sense of a professional athlete. He plays tough. He plays hard. He has his limitations, but those have been minimized in the system that they're playing right now. He's really leveled up, and Brunson has just, really established himself as an all-time great Knick. And no matter what happens in this finals, he will be considered one. And, a truly magnificent player in the clutch. Some of those shots he was hitting, that incredible all-time historic comeback against Cleveland in Game 1 was just insane, what he was doing and the level of control he displays. And then, the rest of the guys they got, Hart, Bridges, their whole team. And it's interesting because, was it Tom Thibodeau and firing him that kind of unlocked this? I'm not so sure. I do think that you have to give the current coach the credit that he deserves, regardless of if another guy sort of set the table for him. But they, like we talk about the Hurricanes, they're destroying the East, much like the Hurricanes did in hockey. And they are setting all types of all-time records on outscoring opponents on their way to the finals. They've set the all-time NBA record, I believe, in winning by this many points per game on the way to the finals, outscoring, all your opponents in that way. So they are absolutely peaking, and now you're going against a team that just beat the defending champions in 7 games and have grown up before our eyes with incredible experience. That you cannot say that if you're New York. New York has not had a single series in the entire Jalen Brunson era that was as tough as what Wemby just went through and won. So, although I'm pulling for the Knicks, Wemby is an absolute game changer that we've never seen, really. And, I think it, again, just like the NHL, it is to me like a toss-up. Like, we're being treated to 2 great matchups in both sports, 2 great finals every night, a finals game. Hopefully we get 2 7-game series, and let's see what happens at that point. Because we don't got a dog really in the race. Not really. We may be pulling one team or the other. We just want good basketball and good hockey. And so I think it's going to be very interesting to see what does New York do that Oklahoma City could not, because Oklahoma City dominated New York in the regular season. That being said, they were healthy. I'm again, I do think that Oklahoma City probably wins Game 7 if Jalen Williams and Ajay Mitchell are healthy.
Perhaps.
That's 2 of their top 4 best players, and they were both out for that game, whereas the Spurs were completely healthy. So I do stick to that. I don't think Oklahoma City should do anything too wild, breaking up the team. But I do really like this New York team, and kind of the way that their chemistry is really shining right now. And so that's something great to see. 2 great teams, both in that same kind of scenario, and may the best one win. The shortest guy on the court, Brunson, versus the tallest guy on the court, and both elite superstars at this point. Let's see, make it happen.
Who do you think is going to win it?
You know what? I'm going to, just because, again, this is conspiracy Neel coming out again. I do think that the NBA would really love it, even though it's Wemby. I do think that they understand that Wemby's going to be dominating this league for a while. Oklahoma City's not going anywhere. You know, this may be the only time New York has to really do something special. I think that New York is going to take it in 6 games. But I would not be surprised to see Wemby hoisting that trophy at the end of the day.
Dano?
Yeah, same. I would. My heart tells me Knicks in 7. Even I think it's gonna be a hard-fought series, but could go either way. But I'm rooting Knicks, hoping Knicks, and I think it'll be a fun story to see.
The only reason I said 6 is because Game 6 will be in New York, Game 7 will be in San Antonio. I just think if it happens in New York, that's something we are not going to see for a while. The level of pandemonium that there's gonna be a lot of piss in those streets. I'll tell you that.
That would be absolutely insane. I would love to see New York take it, but I think Wemby is I think he's a man on a mission. And for the sake of it, I'm going to go Spurs in 5. I think it's going to be a hard fought series. I'd love to see the New York Knicks win, but with that big 3 with De'Aaron Fox, of course, led by Wemby, I think it's San Antonio's year this year.
The big difference to me is that when you took out Jalen Williams and Mitchell for Oklahoma, you had guys that could not step up to the moment, like Chet Holmgren, who was an all-NBA player, all-defensive first team as well this year. He had one of the worst Game 7 flops you could ever ask, and I think, the Wemby factor is there. Wemby has like a personal vendetta against him for whatever reason. Lou Dort, who, normally is a lockdown defender that is an asset in that way, but he had nothing offensively, and you're not going to have that problem with New York because OG Anunoby is going to give you Lou Dort level defense, but he's also going to give you an excellent offensive repertoire. The same can be said for guys like, they're going to have their shooting struggles, but I do think that oddly a healthy New York Knicks team has a better chance than a broken down Oklahoma City team. So we'll see. I don't think it's going to be 5 games. I would be very surprised. 6 or 7, one way or the other. I could see happening.
Yeah, it's very well possible. But what is a certainty is straight facts, bro. Relax. Final segment of the show. Dano, the Montreal Canadiens, I mean, they were close enough making the Eastern Conference Final, but they were no match for the Carolina Hurricanes. Of course, it has been 34 years since a Canadian team has won the Stanley Cup. Are we going to see it grow closer to 40? Are we going to see a Cup winner this decade? Dano, the turn of the decade will happen before a Canadian team wins the Stanley Cup. Straight facts, bro. Relax. Oh, Dano, sorry, you are on mute.
It's not an easy as an answer as I would like it to be because there's some Montreal is a good up and coming team. Edmonton, as long as McDavid stays there, is going to do Edmonton things. You hope Toronto can turn it around. Ottawa's even got a nice core brewing over there, but 4 years is not enough for me to say straight facts with any sort of confidence, just because the sheer number of American teams up there. So I will say, bro, relax with a small hope that it's straight facts.
Yeah, a small hopes, absolutely, because it's getting to the point where I'd rather see Montreal somewhat win a cup. I mean, it's been so long, to the fact that I didn't even start high school yet, and was the last time a Canadian team won the Stanley Cup. Insane.
Yeah, but we can still rest our hats on the fact that a majority of coaches and captains, star players, are still Canadians are still driving championships. They may not be representing Canadian cities, but they're still very much involved.
That for sure.
Single
But
line.
how long is that going to be? I mean, hey, the world's catching up, and USA, like, yeah, sure, Canada was so close in the gold medal game, the women's final. I mean, USA's been so much dominant in women's hockey, but hopefully that not only that Canada will continue the dominance of the game like they've had for all these decades, but that a Canadian team could actually hoist the Stanley Cup. Neel, of course, we were talking about hometown heroes representing the Toronto Maple Leafs, and we're certainly seeing a hometown hero in RJ Barrett having a terrific year with the Toronto Raptors. Is he going to stick around? Of course, the Raptors do have a lot of decisions to make, and money has already been designated for the likes of Barnes, quickly, a lot of money, unfortunately, to the likes of Jakob Poeltl. And is there going to be enough in the kitty for RJ Barrett? Neel, RJ Barrett will re-sign in Toronto. Straight facts, bro, relax.
I'm just going to say straight facts because I don't want to say bro relax to a guy who I've really grown to really like. I love how he reps Toronto. I just love how much he wants to be here. How he even somewhat shamelessly, he's like, I don't care. I'm going to say it. I want to be here. I want them to re-sign me. He's not beating around the bush. He's not like, my agent will handle this or some BS answer like that, cookie cutter stuff. He's showing his passion for the country. He really loves being a Raptor. And I think Toronto loves having him. It's just the unfortunate scenario, like you said, with these idiotic contracts that the Raptors have given out. Like, on one hand, you have and the crazy thing is RJ Barrett wasn't even the centerpiece of that deal. It was Quickly, who you handed a boatload of money to, and that's coming to bite you hard right now. And meanwhile, RJ Barrett, the side piece, is the one that really looks to be the real gem of the deal. On one hand, you got a front office there handing out stupid money to Jakob, stupid money to Quickly. And it turns out Ingram, although he had a great year, just maybe isn't that guy in the playoffs. He looked shocked, shut in, too small for the moment. And it was one of the worst playoff performances for a series I've ever seen any player have in Ingram, outside of one clutch shot that he hit in game 4, I believe. So on the other hand, then you have an incredible little core that they've done very well in the draft with CMB, with Walter, with Shed. Like, these are all three steals at their position that are showing. And then obviously drafting sticking with their gut and getting Scotty over who everybody thought they were going to get, and Jalen Suggs. They went and got Scotty, and we were upset about that at the beginning, and we're so glad that happened now. We were upset about CMB over guys like Kaman Maluwak, who plays for Phoenix. People wanted him, and turns out the guy no one heard of, CMB, is the one that looks like the steal. Walter's coming along. He's making Grady Dick very expendable. Grady Dick probably will not be on the team next year. If Bobby Webster can somehow find somebody to take on Jakob's contract, give him Executive of the Year today. But unfortunately, we've put ourselves in a boat that's going to be hard to get out of. And RJ may be the sacrificial guy who has to go plug the hole of the sinking ship by actually jumping off it, or whatever I'm trying to say there. But we don't want him to go, but he may have to go because of the poor decisions that we've made prior to his sort of arrival, so to speak, in Toronto. Like, real arrival. I'm talking about in these playoffs.
Yeah, because he was certainly one of those leaders. And
he stepped his game up in the playoffs. Like, he's a playoff performer.
Absolutely.
There's guys that come up with the moment, and there's guys that shrink down with the moment. And I think what you saw is that RJ is the type that comes up and Ingram is the type that shrinks down. And it's easy to put up numbers against teams that are halfway in it on any given night or missing this player, that player, you know. But in the playoffs, when everyone's locked in, the guys who are made for it are the ones that also lock in and can rise to with the pressure. And there's a lot of guys that aren't that way. Look at James Harden for one. He's probably the highest level example of someone like that. You know, so I think you keep guys when they've proven that they step their game up in the playoffs, because RJ Barrett did the same thing in his last season in New York. He stepped it up in the playoffs and played really well for them in the playoffs. They may have lost in the first round, I think, but he was their best player, I believe, in that series, or he was one of their best players. He definitely stepped up the way he did this series against Cleveland for us. So
Sure.
that's enough evidence to say that, hey, when you need the guy the most, when it really counts, he'll be there, regardless of what he may or may not do inconsistently during the regular season. That's the type of guy I want on this team. I want guys like Barrett, and hopefully, and it looks like we got a few of those guys in the youngsters on our team as well. So I'm excited for the future. I hope RJ stays. We just got to get rid of some of this dead kind of weight on our roster.
Yeah. And if Bobby, like you said, is able to move Pirtle and maybe do something about quickly, which I think would be maybe just as hard, that would be incredible work by
the savvy move, in my opinion, at this stage is to understand what you have in a young core, and to get one of these bad teams, give them a couple of first-round picks to take Quickly's contract and maybe get a decent young role player back as well. But you're going to have to give away picks in order to get guys to take these bad contracts off of your hands.
Yeah.
To be able to maybe sign somebody else, or really flesh out this team. But we'll see. We'll see what he's made of. We'll see if he's truly capable of being Masai's heir to the throne.
Heir apparent, yeah. And I was just going to say that I think maybe Quickly and Ingram just need to take in a couple extra Tylenols and get off the injured list, because they're always so snake bit with the injuries. Anyway, we'll see what happens. Guys, as always, thank you so much. Always a great chat. Let's do it again soon.
For sure. Thanks, Randy.
Sounds good.
You bet. For Neel, Katarey, and Dan Leggieri, I'm Randy Katarey. This is Voice of the Fans Canada. Hope you're doing well and keeping safe. We will talk to you next time.